Hi Unknown Mystery Recap here. Today I'm going to explain a martial arts film called Fearless. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. 10-year-old Ho Yuanjia is the son of a martial arts master named Andy, and he never allows Ho to take part in training. Concerned about his asthma, the kid however has a passion for kung fu. He tries his best to sneak into his father's classes to learn the bases of it. Ho's only friend is a nerdy kid named Jinsun. He does all of Ho's calligraphy homework, allowing him to train instead, and he is the second best in martial arts in their town, which is soon about to change because he has been challenged by the best. Zhao Ho is excited about the fight and confident that the victory will fall in his father's lap, and he has the upper hand in the match and is about to land a fatal blow on Zhao, but his beliefs and fair gameplay stop him from doing so. Taking advantage of the niceness, Zhao retaliates and wins the match dishonorably. Was heartbroken by the incident, Zhao's son challenges him to a fight when only the kids are together. Ho confidently takes the challenge on but is defeated in no time. At this moment he vows to restore his family's name and become the best martial artist in Tianjin. He and Jinsun go to his father's library and steal his book about martial arts. Then using the book he trains day and night without rest. When Hua finally thinks he is ready, he challenges Zhao's son to a fight again. Zhao accepts the challenge confidently but is instantly proven weak against the trained Hua. Several years later, Hua has grown up to become even better in martial arts. His father passed away long ago along with his wife, who left him with a little daughter. Hua spoils her since she is his joy and pride in life. Since his last fight with Zhao, Hua has remained undefeated. He has fought several opponents but none of them were good enough to give him a hard time. Hua has also gathered a lot of fans and followers over the years, but along the way he has developed pride and is starting to forget his father's principles. He drinks and parties all the time and lets his disciples focus on having fun more than practicing. Some days he drinks so much that he forgets to return home to his daughter. He has spent all of his family's money and has gone into debt but has no cares in the world. One evening he goes to his best friend Jinsun, who is now a wealthy businessman and the owner of a famous restaurant. As usual, drinks until midnight and treats his followers to unlimited food. Jinsun's assistant reminds him that Hua has not paid his bills for over a year and they've been piling up. Later that night Jinsun tries putting some sense into Hua. Jinsun knows that Hua's disciples only like him because he treats them to free food and drinks. He wants Hua to be conscious of his spending habits, but Hua thinks Jinsun is just being stingy. The following day he bumps into his biggest rival Qin. He is the only man who hasn't fought with Hua yet since he has also defeated every opponent. Qin is considered the best in martial arts by many. They get into a slight altercation which hurts Hua's pride. He takes his anger out on his disciples, beating them up while they train. At night one of his followers has to be brought to him in a stretcher. It turns out that Qin beat him up for some reason. Hua assumes that he did it out of spite and is filled with anger. In Jinsun's restaurant, Qin and his family are celebrating his birthday. Suddenly Hua barges in with his people and starts drinking at a nearby table. Qin asks him to put their rivalry aside for the night because he doesn't want to fight, but Hua is in no mood to back down. Jinsun also tries to stop him but is in turn insulted. In a fit of rage he breaks up their lifelong friendship. Now even angrier, Hua challenges Qin to a fight and asks him to kneel down if he doesn't want to accept. Everyone gets out of their restaurant for their safety, leaving the fighters alone. They get into an intense battle, both matching in skill and strength, but when anger takes over Hua he doesn't play fair. He beats Qin up until he is exhausted and lands a life-threatening punch on his chest. It causes him to die instantly. Returns home in the morning to see his mother's dead body on her bed. Qin's followers had her killed to take revenge on him. He cries mourning her death before suddenly realizing his daughter is also in the house. Upon walking into her room he is met with the biggest surprise of his life. She is lying on her bed covered in blood. In her hand is a little pouch that she had promised to give him when he returned home. Broken by the deaths he has caused, Hua steps out of the house when his disciples inform him that the man who was beaten up by Qin had insulted his wife. Qin did not beat him up out of spite but for his wife's honor. Filled with guilt, regret and sorrow, Hua Huo doesn't see a reason for him to keep living. He boards the first ship and lies down in a corner willing to go wherever it takes him. After living in the streets for 6 months, he tries to commit the unthinkable but is soon saved by a group of people by the river. They bring him to their tribe and take great care of him, but even after gaining consciousness, Huo goes into depression and doesn't talk to anyone. A blind woman named Moon takes care of him and is worried that he will never get up from the bed. Her experienced grandmother is confident that he will be fine with time. One day Moon feels Huo's hair and offers to cut it. He walks for the first time in a month and goes to a river with her where she helps him cut his hair. Starting that day he becomes a member of their community. He helps them cook, farm and do household work. As a year passes, Moon and Huo start falling for each other. Then one day a kid from their tribe is found stealing a cow from their neighboring community. The grandmother and Moon beg for forgiveness from the rival leader, but according to their tradition, someone who makes a mistake should be beaten until an incense burns out. Huo speaks up for the tribe and offers to take the beating in the kid's place. For adults the punishment is a bit different, which means we'll have to fight against the leader. Although Huo can finish him in no time, he doesn't want to use his knowledge to hurt anyone anymore. Initially he doesn't even defend himself, but after a little motivation from the grandmother he starts to dodge the attacks. The incense burns off, but the leader is not able to land a single blow on him. He accepts his defeat and praises Huo. The next day, Huo, Moon and the children of the tribe are in the field. The children want to learn Kung Fu from Huo, but he refuses to teach them. He knows what great power does to people and wants the peaceful village to remain as it is. The children also innocently mentioned that Huo and Moon are the closest to each other, but the adults ignore the comment. One day Moon goes to see her parents' grave. This reminds Huo of his parents and daughter who he abandoned after her death. Now that he is in a better mental condition, he wants to return home to visit their grave. He tells Moon about the plan and she happily encourages him. Huo promises to return as soon as he can and asks her to wait for him. In the following scene we see him enter his hometown Tianjin, which is now an entirely different place. After the fall of the Qing dynasty, several strong nations attacked China and took over. Tianjin became partially colonized, which caused several foreign residents to reside in the city and influence their culture. Huo goes to his childhood house, which is now an old shabby place. The family servant Lai Fu welcomes him in. He has tried his best to keep things as they were, but after Huo's departure a bunch of creditors flipped the entire house to look for money. Huo goes to his family's grave and apologizes to his father. He finally understands why he didn't land the punch years ago when he could have won the title of the best player. After that he goes to apologize to Key's family and bows down in front of his shrine. As he wanders around the city he sees that a wrestler named Hercules O'Brien is challenging Chinese people in a fight. He has remained undefeated in every fight and is confident in the next victory to conserve Chinese heritage. Huo wants to challenge him, but he will need some money for it. For his next step he goes to Jensen's place and apologizes for what happened years ago. He promises to have learned from his actions. When Jensen finds out what he needs the money for, he doesn't waste time before handing it to him through an assistant. Then in the 1909 race club Shanghai, Hercules goes against Huo. At first glance someone petite like Huo could never beat Hercules, who has double the size of him. Before the match begins Huo requests that he and Hercules fight with honor and civility. Taking advantage of the language barrier, the announcer mistranslates Huo's request to "he wants to kick your butt," making Hercules laugh. The fight begins and Huo instantly gains the upper hand. As the match gets intense, Huo saves the opponent from being impaled to nails on the side of the ring. As a good sportsman, Hercules accepts his defeat, making Huo the victor. Gains fame from the single fight and is called to Shanghai. He meets Jensen there, who proposes. They form Qinwu Athletic Association, a place where they teach Chinese students the art of Kung Fu. That way, even with the constant foreign pressure, they can preserve their heritage. Meanwhile, a group of officials from the foreign chamber is not fond of Huo's growing popularity among the Chinese public. They fear that his wins against the foreign fighters may trigger anti-foreign sentiments among the Chinese people, hence to make sure he loses in the ring. Next time they propose a match between Ho and 4 foreign champions consecutively in a single day. The Japanese representative Mr. Mita promises to end Ho once and for all this time, even though the challenge is difficult and is obviously a tactic to make him lose. Ho agrees to take part one day before the big fight. He meets his rival, the Japanese champion Tanaka. They talk over tea and befriend each other. Tanaka is a fair and respectable sportsman like Ho, but unlike the people who are sponsoring him, cut to the day of the fight. Ho is made to go against 3 fighters from around the world, but none of them last in the ring for more than 2 minutes. Ho manages to defeat all 3 without breaking a sweat. Lastly, he goes against Tanaka, who apologizes for the unfair match and asks him if they should reschedule. Ho says it's fine, and the first round starts. They fight using weapons of their choice. Ho uses a Sanhigo.